Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be, it's one video, but it's kind of like two videos put into one. So I'm going to do a fall TBR type thing, like books that I want to get to in the fall that I haven't read yet, but that I feel like fit the fall setting for whatever reason I feel that way, which I will explain when I get to those books. But also books that I recommend other people read in the fall, again, for same type of reasons, like, oh, this book is set in fall, this book gives me fall vibes, or like, you know, whatever it is. So the reason I said it's like kind of like two videos is because it's like books that I'm recommending that I've read, and then books that I'm saying, hey, I've heard that these are really good books for this time, so it's also kind of like recommending them to you, but I can't 100% be like, yes, read this, it was so good, because I haven't read it yet. So I don't know off the top of my head how many books I have, but there are quite a few, but some of them are series, so it'll seem like there's a lot, but really I'm just gonna like kind of group them as their series. So let's get into the video. Okay, so the first book that I have for you guys that I would recommend you read in the fall is none other than Fourth Wing. I mean, we all know that I was not gonna go without talking about this book in this video. I will recommend this fall, winter, spring, summer, all year round. It's just so good that it doesn't matter when you read it. It's just amazing. But the real reason that I recommend you read this in the fall is because the second book comes out November 7th. So I feel like it just makes sense. You read this in the next, you know, month or two, and then you read the second one right after. Like, to me, like, that makes sense. So I feel like you all should, you know, take that knowledge and, you know, read the book. I probably shouldn't get into talking about this book because I probably won't shut up about this book. But when has that ever stopped me? So basically, this is a fantasy book, but in my opinion, like when I read it, I felt like it was half fantasy, half romance, and like dystopian vibes sprinkled in. And I did hear another YouTuber kind of describe it as like they think that fantasy and dystopian are kind of like the same thing, but like there's fantasy and then dystopian is like a subgenre of fantasy, which honestly I kind of agree with. Like, if you really think about it, they are very similar. But yeah, I loved this book. Could not recommend literally anything better than this. But honestly, most of the books that I'm recommending that I've already read, I loved, and that's why I'm recommending them. So can't really go wrong. But this one is so good, and like, I personally haven't met anyone that didn't like it. There have been people who didn't love it as much as me, but like I haven't met like someone who's like, wow, I hated that book. So I definitely think you should try this out. And I mean, come on, dragons. Who doesn't want to read about a book that has dragons involved? And let me tell you, the main dragons, they're funny. Like, I was laughing at things that the dragons were like saying, without getting into too much detail. That's why I just went like, you'll understand when you read. But it's so good, and the characters are so good, like their friendships and their romances. It's just, I read it in one day. I read this entire book in one single day, and it was so worth it. And will I be doing it again? Yes. So, first book, Fourth Wing. Okay, so the next book that I have for you guys, technically I'm holding this because it's the only one I have in the series, but really I'm recommending you guys the whole Field Party series. Like, this is the, come on, light. This is the first book. I think this is the third one because this is the second one. But this whole series, the Field Party series, is just kind of like high school-y, football-y vibes. And I mean, football seasons, depending, for school, football season has already started, but like NFL football is just about to start this week. Well, actually, technically today, I think. No, yesterday. No, yesterday. It started yesterday. So I feel like fall is the perfect time to read, like, sports romances in general. I feel like fall is a really good time to do that, but specifically like football. And then I feel like once you get like towards more of like the end of fall, beginning of winter, that's when you should start reading the hockey romances. So I stopped myself. I'm not going to talk about any of the hockey romances in this video, but just you wait for the winter ones. Just you wait. But yeah, I definitely would recommend this series because, like, again, it's kind of like for people who are in high school or just recently out of high school, I feel like you can still enjoy these books and not feel like I'm reading like really young type book, you know. Like, it's different than YA, I feel like, when it's not a YA book but it's set, you guys know what I mean. Anyways, but I really liked the first one. I rated it a 4.75 stars, and I haven't read this one yet, but it is on my TBR for this month. And obviously it's also on my fall TBR, so I'm super excited. I just feel like, I don't know. Anytime I think of football, I do think of the fall. So I feel like for me, that's why I recommend this in the whole series. Now, going off of that, I'm just gonna set this down. There is a series that I have not read that I will talk about later that I also feel like gives off similar vibes with like the whole football thing. So really, I'm just gonna state like any football romance I feel like is good for the fall season. So the next book, I feel like some people, I'm gonna hold it up and say it, and they're gonna be like, why would you recommend this for the fall? But let me explain. So the book is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I know that every video since I've gotten this, I've talked about it, but I literally love it. Like, it's insane. I did finish this book already. You'll see it in my reading wrap up, but I'll just say it now. I rated it 4.75 stars, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a whole video on this, just kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to like spoil anything, which is why I'm nervous to make a whole video just on this book, but it was so good. And like, I literally read it in like 2 days while still being in college and doing work. I don't know how I did it, but I did. But I absolutely love this book. Like, I know some people say that they love this more than Icebreaker, and then some people who like didn't like Icebreaker but love this. Like, I feel like most people I've heard like this, like no matter what. But I don't know, for me, Icebreaker and Wildfire were so different, but also so similar, that I don't remember what I rated Icebreaker, but I think it was like a 4.5 or a 4.75, and I rated this a 4.75. So I feel like for me, they both sit up there, and they're both books I really enjoy. The reason I say fall vibes is because I know it's set in the summer, but sometimes I like to be able to be in the fall weather, but read about the summer. And really the only reason it's set in the summer is because it's at a summer camp. But like, I don't know, this is gonna sound weird, but like the color schemes, they still kind of give me fall. Like, I know like oranges and browns and stuff like that tend to be more fall colors, but I feel like pink is also, it kind of gives me fall vibes. I don't know. There's just something about this book, and maybe it was because I read it, like, I mean, I know some people could still consider this summer, but it keeps like changing between like 100 degrees outside and like 75 degrees outside. So it's kind of like turning into fall. And I don't know, I just really feel like people would enjoy reading this in the fall because it's a way to kind of be like, oh, I'm in the fall and I'm loving the weather, but I also kind of miss summer, so like let me go back and read a little bit of summer. So that's why I say you guys should read this in the fall. And for everybody who wants to read it, this book comes out October 3rd, so you all can either pre-order it. Like, I know Barnes & Noble right now has a 25% off code, so you can pre-order it on there. And Barnes & Noble has an exclusive edition, which I don't know what they have. Like, I don't know if it's an extended epilogue or what, but there is an exclusive edition on Barnes. Of course, I have already pre-ordered it. I mean, I gotta support our girl Hannah. Like, I got sent this for free, so I have to support her so that she continues writing. Amazon, I mean, really anywhere you get books, I'm sure that they have this available for pre-order, so I would recommend this 100% for the fall. So similar when I was talking about football romances, I feel like another popular like genre or trope is fantasy books. I don't know, I feel like fantasy is a really good genre to read in the fall. And so a book series that is a YA fantasy series that I really enjoyed, that I was introduced to by my sister, and they love this series. Like, they just love it. And so they finally got me to read it. I read it. I really enjoyed it. Now we're both waiting for, wow, words. They're just not coming to me today. The third book, but we don't know when the third book's gonna come out. But the series is the Legendborn Cycle trilogy series. So the first book is Legendborn, and the second book is Bloodmarked. Tracy Dion, if you're watching, which you're not, but if you are, I need the third book. We need it now. Preferably like yesterday, but you know, I'll accept it today. I feel like this just gives me fall vibes. Like, again, I said like fantasy just in general to me gives me fall vibes, but I feel like this one specifically because, again, it's like the main character is starting school, and I feel like the start of school is normally the end of summer, beginning of fall. And so I feel like that's also why these books tend to give me that vibe, because it's fall for them in the books. But I don't know, I think of fantasy and I'm like, fall. I don't know. So I feel like I don't have a super long explanation for this. I just really enjoyed this series, and I feel like if you're someone who likes fantasy, or if you're someone who likes YA, or if you're someone who likes YA fantasy, then this is the perfect series. I know that some people are like, YA fantasy, I feel like it's gonna be too cheesy, it's gonna be like I know some people like reading fantasy for like the intense world building and like the complexities that some people don't like fantasy for. I do feel like this one has a good mix of complexities and world building, but not so confusing that you're like, what is going on? But the main character, Bree, we love her. She is amazing. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's such an interesting, like, storyline. I haven't read anything like it before, and personally, I mean, you guys might be like, oh, I've read this and it was similar, but personally, I haven't read anything like it, and I thought that it was really, really fun. I enjoyed it. The next book that I would recommend you guys is also in a series, but that's the Inheritance Games. I recently just read that last month, actually, and so I haven't read the rest of the series, so I don't know for sure about that, if, like, the whole series gives me fall vibes, but the plot line of the Inheritance Game, which is basically that this girl, I really hope none of this is spoilers. I don't know what the back says. Forewarning, there may be spoilers in the next, like, 10 to 20 seconds if you just want to skip past a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to give anything, like, too key away. Basically, there's this girl who gets this inheritance from this stranger who just died, and you would think it would go to his sons, but it went to her instead. But she has to, like, do these things to get it. It's like a whole kind of, like, puzzly mystery maze thing. In some ways it almost reminds me of, like, escape rooms, but not in the sense that, like, oh, you know, she's trapped and she has to escape. It's just the same type of vibe of, like, finding these clues and, like, it leads you to another clue and stuff. I really liked that aspect of it, which is why I am excited to continue the series. But I don't know, I feel like that gives me fall vibes. Like, I feel like going to escape rooms or doing puzzles and stuff like that are things that I really like to do in the fall. So that's why I would recommend this series. I know currently the Inheritance Games, now I can't even remember what the second one's called. I know the third one's the Final Gambit. Okay, well, they'll all be up here. So there's 3 out. I don't know if the 4th one is out or if it's coming out. But if I'll still show it up here because I'm sure I can find it. But what is this? This is gonna drive me crazy. It's a blue cover. Whatever. I'm sure you guys know. And like I said, they'll be up here. So I'm just gonna move on. So another series that I would recommend you guys reading in the fall is the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. So it goes hooked, scarred, wretched, twisted, crossed, I think. They'll all be up here, so if I got that wrong, oh well, but they'll be over here or wherever I put them. To me, I feel like all of the books give me fall vibes because they're all kind of like dark romance, and for some reason I also feel like dark romance, I mean, I'm not saying I don't read it all year round, but I feel like the fall time, because of like Halloween and everything, I tend to read more dark romances then. So I feel like that's why those books would be really good, because they are all dark romances, and like search up trigger warnings for each book. But they are like interconnected standalones, like you can read them in any order. I would recommend you read them how they came out though, but I mean, you can read them in any order. But I don't know, I just think that some of them definitely give me more fall vibes than others, but I've only read the first 3. The 4th one I own, I haven't read it yet, and then the 5th one just came out. But I do plan on reading both of those also, hopefully by the end of the year. Don't hold me to that. That may not happen, but I do really want to be able to do that, so yeah. Okay, so now we're transitioning into books that I recommend people read, but that's more like on my TBR for fall. So these are books that I have not read, I have just heard things about, and I feel like they would be very, very interesting. So the first 2 books, they like go together, is The X-Hex and The Kiss Curse. Sorry, I have them written down over here and I totally just forgot that second one. But yeah, The X-Hex and The Kiss Curse. They're both kind of, I think The Kiss Curse came out last year and The X-Hex came out the year before that, around Halloween time. And they're just kind of Halloween-y fall books, like that's kind of what they're made for. And so I do want to be able to read those during this fall Halloween time. I will be honest, I don't try to read books in the fall that are like, you know, like written to be only read in the fall. I just sometimes like similar to like when it's Christmas and people read like Christmas romance books. I don't tend to do that just because like I don't feel the need to, but I know that there are some people who really enjoy it. That's partially why I create this video, but also I want to be able to expand my horizon. So, of course, if I recommended you guys Fourth Wing, I have to recommend you guys Iron Flame. So again, read Fourth Wing so that you can read Iron Flame. I'm literally just stating that really quickly. I recommend you guys read Iron Flame in the fall because it comes out in the fall, and why would you want to wait to read that? So, yeah. Okay, so the next book that I think you guys should read is Divine Rivals. Again, it's also on my TBR. I have not read it yet. I've just heard super great things about it, and I've heard people say that, like, if you liked Fourth Wing, you'd probably like Divine Rivals. Like, they're not, like, the same plot, but, like, they give, I guess, similar, like, I don't know, they probably attract similar people, like, reader types. And I don't know, I've heard really, really good things about it, and again, the whole, like, fantasy thing in the fall, if you haven't caught on to that yet. So, I think Divine Rivals would be a really good one, and, like, I don't know, I like angst and stuff in the fall, and I know that there is some angst in that book, so. Okay, so the next books that I would recommend you are, like, 2 series, but you have to read one before the other. Okay, I see people who don't read the first one, but I feel like if the author is saying the first one comes before the second one, like, unless you really, really hate the, like, the plot line of the first one, just, like, read it. Like, that's how the author intended it to be, but whatever. So the first series is the Caraval series, so there's 3 books in that series, and then there's the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and there's 2 books, I think, currently out for that. And then there's one coming out, I think, later this year. So that would be 3 and 3. But basically, I'm gonna read you the little synopsis of Caraval because I haven't read it yet. But I think that reading the synopsis will make sense why I feel like fall vibes from it. So, it says, Scarlet has never left the tiny island where she and her beloved sister Talia, or Tella? It's Tella, so I don't know, however you pronounce that, live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long-dreamt of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella, her sister, whisks Scarlet away to attend. Only as soon as they arrive, her sister is kidnapped by Caraval's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's Caraval revolves around her sister, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything that happens during Caraval is only an elaborate performance, but whether Caraval is real or not, she must find her sister before the 5 nights of the game are over, and her sister disappears forever. And then the second book is called Legendary, and the third book is called Finale. Yeah. So, I don't know. It kind of, like, in a weird way, like, the whole, like, waiting for this invitation, I really want to go to this thing, and it's only, like, once a year, kind of gives me, like, Harry Potter vibes, which definitely gives me fall vibes. If you haven't read that, read that. I haven't read it, but that's, like, a really big commitment, so that won't be happening this year, but maybe next year. But, I don't know. That just was, like, really intriguing to me, and I was, like, it's also just, I don't know, it gives me fall vibes. I feel like you will understand what I mean when I say that. Like, I feel... I love living in a dorm. I don't know, I feel like it gives fall vibes, and I feel like you guys will understand what I mean. Also, it is saying that it's free on Kindle Unlimited, but I literally looked yesterday and it was not free, so I'm very confused, so I'm gonna have to check that out later. But that does not involve you guys, so it's fine. So the next, like, series that I would say I would want to read this year is the Red Zone Rival series by Kennedy Steiner. And again, football series, fall. I'm not really going to go into it because I feel like this video is going to be super long. So yeah, football, fall, read. Ta-da! There you go. Okay. The next one is, again, because I feel like I tend to read more dark romances in the fall than in the winter or the spring or the summer. Well, actually, maybe not the winter. I feel like fall, winter are dark romance periods. Anyways, because I read Satan's Affair last month, I feel like Haunting and Hunting Adeline. I feel like it's time for me to do it. It probably won't be this month, but maybe during October I'll read it because I feel like that would be fitting, but we're not sure. We'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much the last, like, little book series that I got for you all, for books that I want to read in the fall. And so then I would also recommend that you read them in the fall, if that makes sense. I feel like maybe this isn't gonna make sense, but it's fine. Okay guys, so that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got some new book recommendations, or at least, like, more solidified, like, okay, yeah, I should read this book in the fall or whatever. If you don't read these books in the fall and you still want to read them, like, you can read them anytime. It's fine. Like, I'm not saying you have to read them in the fall. I just feel like they're more exciting to read in the fall. I don't know. If you guys have any questions or you want more fall book recommendations, you can comment those down below, and I can either, again, if you have a question about a specific book, I can just answer it straight from your comment, or if you want like just more recommendations, I can make a part 2 to this video, but I feel like I gave you a lot, so I feel like we might be good. But if not, if you want more, that's fine. I can't make another video with more, so just gotta, you know, comment down below. Okay, so, you know, do the normal, like, comment, subscribe. My Instagram is in the bio, like, the description, so you can go there to follow my Instagram. I may or may not be having certain things posted on my story soon for possible future videos, but I'm not 100% sure, so just keep an eye out for that. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. So I hope you guys are having a great day, night, morning, week, whatever. Hope you're having a good day, just in general. Or I hope you had a good day. So that's it from me. I will see you guys probably next week. So yeah, bye.